Okay, welcome back to part two, my friends. Part two. This is looking very well, very nice. Rocks. Now this is all still wet. So what I might do is take a bit of tissue paper, dampen the tissue paper and just rub out the paint where I think my rocks are going to be. Now I know there's one going to be around here somewhere, look. So let's just take that out. Just keep rubbing it with some turpentine on a tissue. I just want to get most of the paint off, okay, most of that dark green colour. And we have another one above it here. Let's just give it a little bit of a thing like that, okay. And again, rub that off. And I think the rest are okay. It's just those two big ones here, really. And let's go. Let's have a bit of fun with some rocks. I'm going to start with the shadow side of the rocks. So I'm going to mix a nice deep purple, okay. Let's get some phaylo blue and some magenta, plenty of each, and then into that a little white. Now I'm going with plenty of magenta in this. I want a nice warm shadow, okay, because that blue can really overtake every colour if we're not careful. So I'm very careful not to put too much in. Maybe a bit more white, just a little, brighten it up a little bit. Now this will mix with the green, but we will get there. Just persevere, we will get there. I'm going to start with this one here, I think. Let's just give this a nice strong shadow like that. Goes up high and it comes down like so. That's the first one done. A little bit more magenta, I would think. And let's go on to the top ones up here. This one comes at a bit of an angle, doesn't it? And it comes up and around. Now I'm not bothered that it's mixing with the green. I'm really not. I'm just putting plenty of paint on. Lots of nice thick paint. And we have another nice one up here, like that. Clean the brush again. Plenty of pink in this. Then we have this one down here. Okay, this one comes along and it comes down almost vertical all the way down. Fill that in. Just get me some more magenta, more blue, little white. And fill this one in as well. Okay. Now I know they're not exactly the same as the photograph, but they're similar, and that's all I want. I only want it to look a little bit similar to the photograph. Now into that I'm going to take some black and some blue and just darken some of them. They're very dark up here, aren't they, the shadows in some of these ones. There's a lot of black, maybe even some burnt umber. We could try some of that. Some black with some burnt umber. And I'm leaving the paint nice and thick on my brush, you see, so I can work it in. And let's get some black and blue even as well. Black and blue will be a lovely combination for this, because those blues will really stand out. Now I'm just dabbing it, you see this? Creating texture on the rock. Dab, 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 and let it slowly disappear upwards. I'll do the same with this one, even a bit more pink in this one down here. So it gets very bluey, purpley kind of a shade down here, doesn't it? So plenty of pink, and I'm mixing this now on the canvas. More magenta. You could even just put on magenta on its own first, like this, okay, and then add blue later. So I'm mixing everything on the canvas, on the rock, and it just gives you a lovely texture, doesn't it? Now what I'm doing is I'm going to scrape it up at an angle. So I want to show the direction of the rock. You see the way I'm doing this here? I'm creating the direction of the rock going upwards while softening them in very gently with the corner of my brush. Now, I need a bit of luminosity on that one at the back as well. I think it just needs a little touch of that nice rich blue, just to bring it up a little bit more. Alright, just a bit. And the last thing I'm going to do is take some black on its own, nice neat black, and just pop some black in and just create these little crevices, I'm going to call them. Little, you see, just little crevices, being very loose with your brush. At this stage, I'm really hardly even looking at the photograph now, all right? I'm just using the photograph really as a reference. Just create some direction on the rock, you see? Little bits. And even use some neat blue on its own as well. Because you can see how that's really lifting the shadow, isn't it? It really lifts the shadow right up. And then some blue with some white. And that will really bring this shadowed area to life. Now, sit back and take a look at that. And I'm fairly happy with that. I think that's quite nice. And we can work on this, don't worry. We'll now go to the lighter sides. The lighter sides, I'm going to start off, I think, with magenta, lots of Naples yellow, and lots of white, okay? I'm going to start with this bright pinky, kind of a salmony, it's a warm kind of a sunlit shade. See that? Let's go up here now, come over and down. And again, don't worry if it's mixing with the green already there. It'll be fine. So we already have one. Look at that. Just like that. Let's go again. We'll add a bit more pink this time. Just go along. Just remember, plenty of paint. Lots of nice, thick paint. That's what you want to create this lovely, thick colour on the canvas. And it's very important at this stage, because what I'm going to do now is try and soften that shadow with some magenta and white, a nice pinky colour. I want to soften that colour into the shadows here and there. You see this? Now, by using plenty of pink, you neutralise the chances of any muddy colours and greens and all that kind of stuff, okay? You neutralise them chances. You stop all those muddy colours from forming. So you can see I just kind of softened it through just where they meet. Let's try it again up here. Now, I know that's a very crisp kind of a highlight up there, but I am going to just here and there soften, just dabbing where they meet, look. Dabbing them together. It just creates a more natural feel, I think, a more natural look. I'm going to make this one bigger. The middle one, I think it needs to be much bigger. So, again, magenta, Naples yellow, and lots of white. Now I want to come over a good bit with this one, look. And I want to come right down and out. Like that. I want to give it more of an impact. Now clean your brush after each time you do this, because you're picking up the greens. So I just give my brush a wipe on some tissue and go back into that colour. Let's go up and do some on this. Let's just bring this over like that, look. You don't have to be too fussy with this one. Just a little highlight up at the back. And we'll go the same with this one up here. Like so. And you can see all these tiny little brush strokes, they're really just bringing everything to life, aren't they? And notice how I've just kept this nice and simple and clean and fresh. I don't want to focus too much on lots and lots of detail. Now I'm getting lots of white and lots of Naples yellow, okay? And I'm just going to really brighten some of this. Again, clean the brush, go back into the colour again. Putting lots of thick paint on there, you see? Now if you prefer, you can let your canvas dry completely and do this. But I quite enjoy the feeling of painting wet on wet sometimes. You see, it's just a lovely feeling because it's picking up some of those colours from the other side and it's mixing colours together slightly as well. And let's come down here, create a little bit of crevice on that one. Go nice and bright, look at that. Yeah, that's it, much better. And we can also bring some of those shadows across into the light side as well. So let's get a bit of pinky colour here now, a little bit of a pinky purple. And let's go, look, a little bit here, okay? And we can also go a little bit coming down here into that. You see, just adding little touches and little shades, maybe a touch of cadmium red, very subtle shades. And then just simply softening them together, look. You see how that just adds, it adds something, to a bit of life to the rock, I think. You can also use a palette knife for this. And I'll show you, if you wanted to do a palette knife, a lot of people paint rocks with palette knives, I know that. So if you wanted to try it with a palette knife, you could simply grab some white. Let's take a bit of white, all right? And create some finer shapes with your white paint as well. Now the palette knife is also great for creating texture. It does create some wonderful texture, I find. And you probably know this as well. But you can get some beautiful texture with a palette knife. Let's go up here and try this here. Look, nice and bright and fresh. And you don't need to overdo this. You can just keep it simple yourself if you like. And there we go. And that's some quite nice shadows, I think, isn't it? Now the next thing I want to do is create some nice rich dark greens in behind all of this. So I want to soften all of these now into the shadows. So I'm going to mix some nice rich green. Let's get phaylo blue and some cadmium yellow. Okay, a tiny bit of thinners on this, just a tiny bit, just to help it stick to the canvas a little better. And let's just go like this, look. Create some nice rich greens. And I'm softening, you see, I'm pulling those rocks into the shadows. So you can now see they've begun to kind of sit down on the canvas, haven't they? So that's my shadows done. I might put a few extra just around the front here. Just to sit them down a little bit more. And then some nice brights in there. So I'm going to grab some cadmium yellow on my palette and get some nice rich bright grasses on this. And my friends, we're nearly finished really. You don't really have to go very far with all of this. It's up to yourself. You can just keep it simple if you like. Absolutely. Let's get this nice bright colour here now. Look, a nice bright yellow. And let's just go like that. And I'm being kind of a little bit careful now when I'm doing this as well. I don't want to go too much. But again, you know, just focusing on adding colour. And I suppose trying to get some bigger grasses as well. So a little bit of light just behind those. You see there's a bit of sunlight just catching behind some of those. And perhaps one or two coming in here as well. Just creating that bit of texture. How's that? I don't think that's too bad. I don't think that's bad at all. You can soften them together if you like a bit more, just to create more texture. Again, it's completely up to yourself. And I think I'm just going to add some nice brights as well, down on the left hand side with some cadmium yellow and some white. And let's just pop a couple here and there. If anything, just to add a bit more interest into the scene, that's all. You don't really have to, but I find just adding a few brights like this really catches the eye in a scene, doesn't it? Maybe just carry it forward up here just a little bit, just to show that it's all sort of one section. And then perhaps just for a little bit of effect, I'm thinking maybe go for a very dark green just in behind that as well, and create possibly a little bit of shadow in there. And last but not least, I'm going to take some burnt sienna and some cadmium yellow and just add little dabs, tiny dabs of colour. Let's just pretend or imagine that there's little plants and all that, little bits of things growing up out of the ground. Little buds, little bits of this and bits of that, okay? It just adds a little bit of interest again. And I don't think I need to go any further, my friends. I am going to do one more thing, which I always do with a seascape or an image like this. I'm going to add just a little bird flying into the scene, maybe just around here or something, or maybe out at sea. Let's go for a little seagull, shall we? A small, tiny little seagull coming into the scene, up high. Like that, little shape of an M, a very wiggly kind of an M, and then a tiny bit of black on the end of the brush, and put a little flick. Like that. A tiny little suggestion, that's all. So look, my friends, we are pretty much done with all of this. Let's put a little suggestion of a few little flowers or something like that popping up here and there in some bushes. Just one or two. And I hope you found this tutorial enjoyable, firstly, and I hope you've learned something from it as well. That's the important thing, isn't it? Once you're learning something small, then I'm very, very happy. So that's it. There we go. One lovely little seascape finished. So, my friends, thank you so. Let me just check the exposure on the camera there now, just for a moment. There we are. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, this lesson. Let me know if you have any questions at all, just ask. Don't be shy. Please do just ask me anything at all regarding colours, that kind of thing. I'm happy to help. I really am delighted to help. So I'll see you very, very soon for another tutorial. This is Easy Oil Painting, signing out. I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you, and do subscribe. And I appreciate all your help over on Patreon as well. Thank you. God bless, and happy painting.